Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 55. And is it text 3? No, text 2. Reading from text 2. Sa eva jatu vaidabhyam, sa eva jatu vaidabhyam, Krishna virya samudbhavaha,
Krishna virya samudbhava.
Pradyumna iti vikyata, Pradyumna iti vikyata, Sabota navamapitu, Sabota navamapitu, Sa eva jatu vaidabhyam,
Saeva jato vaidarvyam.
Krishna virya samudbhavaha,
Krishna virya samudbhava.
Pradyumna iti vikyataha,
Pradyumna iti vikyataha.
Sarvato navamapitu.
Sarvato navamapitu.
Saeva jato virdavyam.
Saeva jato vaidarvyam.
Krishna virya samudbhavaha.
Krishna virya samudbhava.
Pradyumna iti vakyataha.
Pradyumna iti vikyataha.
Sarvato madavaha pitu.
Sarvato navamapitu. Saeva jato vaidarvyam.
Saeva jato vaidarvyam.
Krishna virya samudbhavaha.
Krishna virya samudbhavaha.
Pradyumna iti vikyata.
Pradyumna iti vikyataha.
Sarvato navamapitu.
Sarvato navamapitu.
Saeva jato vaidarvyam.
Saeva jato vaidarvyam.
Krishna virya samudbhavaha.
Krishna virya samudbhavaha.
Pradyumna iti vikyata.
Pradyumna iti vikyata.
Sarvato namapitu.
Sarvato navamapitu. Saeva jato vaidarvyam. Krishna virya samudbhavaha. Pradyumna iti vikyata. Sarvato navamapitu. Saeva jato vaidarvyam. Krishna virya samudbhavaha. Pradyumna iti vikyataha. Sarvato navamapitu.
Word for word. word for word. Sa, he, eva, indeed, jata, taking birth, Vaidabhyam, in the daughter of the king of Vidarbha, Krishna Virya, from the seed of Lord Krishna, Samudbhava, generated, Padumna, Iti, thus, Vikyata, known, Sarvata, in all respects, in all aspects, Anavama, not inferior, to his father. Translation: he took birth in the womb of Vaidabhi from the seed of Lord Krishna and received the name Pradumna. In no respect was he inferior to his father. So right through here, this whole chapter, I think we can read the whole story because practically there's no purport until the very end. So we can read this whole chapter, one verse after the other. It just tells the story. Text 3. I'll just read the translations. Text 3. The demon Sambara, who could assume any form he desired, kidnapped the infant before he was even 10 days old, understanding Pradyumna to be his enemy. Sambara threw him into the sea and then returned home. Text 4. A powerful fish. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti points out that according to the Vishnu Purana, Pradyumna was kidnapped on the 6th day after his birth. And then text 4. A powerful fish swallowed Pradyumna, and this fish, along with others, was caught in a huge net and seized by fishermen. Text 5. The fishermen presented that extraordinary fish to Sambara, who had his cooks bring it to the kitchen, where they began cutting it up with a butcher knife. Text 6. Seeing a male child in the belly of the fish, the cooks gave the infant to Mayavati, who was astonished. Narada Muni then appeared and explained to her everything about the childbirth and his entering the fish's abdomen. Next verse, text 8. Mayavati was in fact Cupid's renowned wife Rati. While waiting for her husband to obtain a new body, his previous one having been burnt up, she had been assigned by Sambara to prepare vegetables and rice. Mayavati understood that this infant was actually Kamadeva, and thus she began to feel love for him. Purport: Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti explains this story as follows. When Cupid's body was burnt to ashes, Rati worshipped Lord Shiva to obtain another body for Cupid. Sambara, having also come to Shiva for a benediction, was recognized by the Lord first, who told him, "You should now ask for your benediction." Sambara, struck with lust at seeing Rati, replied that he wanted her as his benediction, and Shiva complied. Lord Shiva then consoled the sobbing Rati, telling her, "Go with him, and in his very home you will attain what you desire." Thereupon Rati bewildered Sambara with her deluding power, and taking the name Mayavati, remained in his house untouched. So we'll read through, but up to this point, we're more or less, this is in the summary of this chapter. This story was told already, we read yesterday morning. And so here in the verses, the same story is told again. But interestingly enough, right in the beginning, he took the birth from Vaidabhi, who was the daughter of Vaidabha, King Vaidabha. The Rukmini gave birth. And I was looking in the, because Mahindra made the point, when exactly was the demigod Kamadev entering into the form of Pradyumna. And I said, according to my understanding, right at the birth, right in the womb, he entered into the body of the Chatuvyuha Pradyumna. And I was reading in the Krishna book, where Srila Prabhupada tells the same story. And in the Krishna book, Prabhupada does actually say that right from the time of when Krishna, and here the term is used, Krishna Virya, he placed his seed in the womb of Rukmini, right at that time, the demigod Kamadev had been burnt to ashes. His body had been burnt to ashes. And then he was placed in the seed along with Pradyumna, the original Chatuvyuha Pradyumna, and he was placed in the womb of Rukmini. So right at that point, Prabhupada confirmed, and he actually mentions that this is confirmed by the Acharyas. So Prabhupada confirmed that. This is mentioned by the Acharyas. So this is when the demigod Kamadev went into and kind of mixed, not merged, but mixed with Pradyumna from the Chatuvyuha. There were two entities, of course, and then Prabhupada explained, one is Vishnu Tattva, that is Pradyumna, that is the son of Krishna in the Dwaka of the spiritual world. He is Vishnu Tattva. Kamadev of this world, he is a demigod who works under subordinate to Indra. He works as one. He's a Jeev Tattva, but he's like a Shaktivish. He's empowered Jeev Tattva. There's Jeev Tattva, you and I, and then there's more empowered Jiva. They're empowered to act in certain ways, and he is actually a manifesto or representation of the original Pradyumna. So it said that living entity who was Jiva Tattva came into somehow came into the semen of Lord Krishna and went and was implanted into the womb of Rukmini, into that, and the body came like that. So two living entities, one Jiva Tattva, one Vishnu Tattva. And a very inconceivable thing to our brain. This is possible. But of course we know that in our body there are so many living entities. We are not the only soul in our body. All the germs, everything like that, they have living entities in the body of the germs. So our body is made up of so many living entities. I remember one time one devotee showed me one documentary that was like a biology class. They said the monsters in our body, and under the microscope, very powerful microscope, there was these like monster-looking creatures moving around in our body on the skin and inside and in all the different. They were like monster-looking, but actually they were magnified so many millions of them. They're tiny, 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 and it was actually shown, very fascinating how they were just moving around. They're living. They're living. So inside all those forms that look like monsters in our body, and actually the title was Monsters in Our Body. So in our body, so many living entities are there besides ourselves. We are the dominant living entity. We've been placed as the dominant living entity. And of course, there's Paramatma. We are the dominant. We are put as the proprietor of this body. Others are just living. We are the host body is there. Other living entities are going. And even the atoms, there's a Paramatma is there. So there's life force everywhere. And so it's not so, and when you look at it that way, it's not so inconceivable that living entity, Jivatma and Vishnu Tattva are there in the one body, because even in our bodies, we are Jiva Tattva and Paramatma. He is Vishnu, he is in our body as well. So in this particular case, the Lord placed his semen in Rukmini, and then the two entities, one is Supreme Entity, one is Jiva Entity, came in, and at that point, Kamadev went in the body of, that came out as Pradyumna. So, and he was no respect inferior to his father. So, we were talking a little bit about this yesterday. There were different types of energies, Vishnu Tattva and what's called Bahi Anga Shakti and Anta Anga Shakti, Tatashta Shakti, all different technical terms of the different energies. Parasya Shakti Vigadaya Shruyate. There's so many energies of Krishna working in different ways. And so, but directly the spiritual expansions, and I was just looking at Panchatattva deities this morning, and thinking that Panchatattva deity is very much a manifestation of all the spiritual energies in the spiritual world. And Panchatattva is very important, especially to Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And indeed, when Srila Prabhupada was translating, he was giving commentary, translating Bhagavad Gita and giving commentary, and then doing Srimad Bhagavatam and translating and giving commentary. He didn't know, he wanted to do Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he didn't know whether he would live long enough to do the translation and commentary on Chaitanya Charitamrita. But he thought that one particular chapter in the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 7, is so important, is that Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. And he brought it out, he asked the BBT to print that as a little book, a booklet. And even before Chaitanya Charitamrita was translated, commentated, and published. He wanted that little book, and I remember when I was a new brahmachari, we got that book, Lord Chaitanya in 5 features, and we were distributing that book, selling it in the streets, selling it in different places. Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. So these Panchatattva here, they are manifesting the 5 main categories of transcendental or absolute truth of the spiritual world. We have Swayam Bhagavan as Lord Chaitanya. Of course, he comes in the world as a devotee, but he is Swayam Bhagavan. He is the original personality of Godhead Krishna. He is in the mood of Radha, but he is Swayam Bhagavan. So he is manifesting that position of absolute transcendental energy, the original personality of Godhead. His immediate expansion, also absolute transcendental position, Vishnu Tattva, is Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda. Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swalupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktatyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. A very nice verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam that explains the position. Panchatattva, the 5 truths. Panchatattva, 5 spiritual truths. Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhakta, all coming from Krishna. Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam means the Bhakta Rupa, Swarupa, Bhakta Avatar, Bhakta. So Bhakta Rupa, the original form of the Lord, and manifesting as devotee, Bhakta Rupa, Lord Chaitanya, as I said. Svarupa, the immediate expansion is Balaram, Swarupakam. Bhakta Avataram, the avatar is Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya. So we have the original. We have the first expansion, Balaram, Nityananda, and we have the avatar from Advaita Acharya, who comes later as a combination, of course, Mahavishnu and Lord Shiva combined. But this is avatar. And then Bhakta Avatar and Bhaktakyam, Namam, Bhakta Shaktikam, Bhaktakyam. Bhaktakyam refers to Sri Gadadha, who is a manifestation of Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani is Lord of Krishna's internal potency. So you have on one side, Krishna expands to Balaram, on the other side, Radharani. All the female aspects in the spiritual world are expansions from Radharani. All the gopis, all on that side, actually expansions originally from Radharani. And then even the queens, in Dwarka especially, all coming from Radharani. The Lakshmis are coming from Radharani. So on that side, the female aspect of spiritual energy is from Radharani. On the other side, from Balaram, there is expansion, and from Balaram, and in Dwarka, Balaram expands to Sankashan. Vasudev, Sankashan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha is in Dwarka. Balaram expands again in Dwarka, and then from that 4 forms of the Lord, called the original Chaturyuha, they are protecting everything in the spiritual realm. They expand again to around all the Vaikuntha planets of the spiritual world. Again, the same 4 personalities, the second Chaturyuha. And then from that Sankashan, the second Chaturyuha, comes the Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu, who is Advaita, and from Mahavishnu comes Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Chirodakshaya Vishnu. So all the different energies are there, and of course we come to Bhakta Shakti. Bhakta Shakti, the Shakti refers to Srivas Pandit, who is Narad Muni, of course, coming again, He represents Jiva, Tatashta Shakti, Jiva Tattva. So all the spiritual truths are in Panchatattva. Therefore, Prabhupada said it considered very important. Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. All the spiritual truths are there. Original Bhagavan Swayam, original Godhead Krishna, first expansion, Avatar, Advaita, Gadadha, internal potency, Radharani, Ladini Shakti, she has her own Shakti, Ladini Shakti, and then Jiva Tattva is Shiva Shakti. So these are the 5 main categories, and they are come again, and especially at that time, the philosophy of Sankaracharya was very popular. Monism, he came for a specific purpose, in the name of the Vedas, people performing all sorts of yajnas, and especially going too much in sacrificing the animals and killing them and indiscriminately practice in the name of yajna. So he came to say no. He preached against following the Vedas, and not against following the Vedas, but he preached monism to stop all this. And then Lord Buddha came and preached against the Vedas, and all because he preached against, and then Lord Buddha came, and then Sankaracharya came, and so many different acharyas came. And then Lord Chaitanya came because this monism was very popular. He wanted to show the spiritual variety. Apart from the monism, there is variety of the spiritual world, and so all the different energies. And so Pradyumna was no less inferior to his father. Same but different also. Krishna has all the qualities. We know that even above the Vishnu, he has all the qualities. Especially Venu Madhurya plays the flute, and the Lila Madhurya, his pastimes are very extraordinary. Prema Madhurya, the love he has for the devotees. Rupa Madhurya, his form is so beautiful, even above all other expansions. So Krishna has qualities above all other expansions, but Pradyumna, in one sense, because he was Vishnu Tattva, he had so many of the qualities of his father. Therefore, it is mentioned he was in no respect was he inferior to his father. So this is Pradyumna. Pradyumna, Aniruddha. Of course, we hear a lot about Krishna. We don't hear so much about Pradyumna and Aniruddha, but when we read Srimad bhagavatam, we can learn a little bit more about Pradyumna and Aniruddha. But this is a very amazing story, as I said yesterday. A very amazing story, how Pradyumna came into the world. And when Krishna comes into the world, all sorts of amazing ways he comes into the world in different incarnations. When Pradyumna came into the world, this is very outstanding. Now, it's mentioned about this Asura Sambhara, that he had all mystic power. Not so much is known about him, but he was Asura. He was against the Yadavas. I tried to research about why he was so against the Yadavas. Apparently, right from his birth, he had some enmity towards the Yadavas. And so, as I said yesterday, he was against Krishna. He was envious of Krishna. And so he thought to punish Krishna now that a son had been born. And we have to remember, this was the first son. The first son. So he thought that if I can't kill Krishna, I'll kidnap his son, Pradyumna. So now he had mystic power. He could change his form. And I read that he changed his form into like a nurse. And that's how he was able to go into the maternity ward, or the maternity room. Not the ward, but into the maternity room. And he was able to go there, like disguising himself as a nurse, and just went and picked up the baby and just mystically disappeared. And kidnapped the baby Pradyumna, as mentioned in the next verse. Points out that according to Vishnu Purana, Pradyumna was kidnapped on the 6th day after his birth, a very just brand new baby. So as we read on, the powerful fish swallowed Pradyumna. Now, Srila Prabhupada mentions that not only powerful, but he was he was an ordinary fish. He was a special fish that was arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come and swallow Pradyumna. So no ordinary fish can swallow the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like we know the Lord comes as Matsya avatar, and he grew and grew and grew to gigantic. So he's no ordinary fish. So the Lord can come in any form he desires, and so he grew and grew. So apparently this fish was not ordinary fish because he was able to swallow a Pradyumna. He was powerful, he was a very big fish, very extraordinary fish, and he was caught in a huge net seized by the fishermen. So we read through what the cooks brought him to the kitchen, offered him to Sambara, and then of course we read about the story that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained about Rati. I was telling a little bit about this yesterday. Rati was married to Kamadev. He went there. Now the whole story, Lord Shiva was doing meditation, and he was in meditation, he was meditating on the Supreme Lord, but Sati had died. You remember the story of the Daksha Yagya, where Sati was there. Daksha Yagya, there was all insult to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva left, and then but Sati later on wanted to go again to another Yagya that her father was organizing, and when her father ignored her, she decided to end her and give up that body, and she immolated herself by fire. So Lord Shiva was very angry and devastated the whole area. And then he was meditating. And so, but in the meantime, Sati had taken another birth as Parvati. But Parvati was waiting to be wed to Lord Shiva, but he was in meditation. Meanwhile, there was some asura that was terrorizing the universe. So only Lord Shiva could defeat him and kill him. And so they wanted to wake him up from his meditation. And so they sent Kamadev. So this is the backstory. They sent Kamadev to break his meditation. He fired an arrow with the arrow of Kamadev is the arrow of Cupid. I mean, in the Western countries they have this idea of Cupid also firing the arrow, and the arrow goes through the heart. You've seen this, they fire the arrow and the arrow goes through the... So inflicting in the heart conjugal desires. So Kamadev shot this, but of course Lord Shiva wasn't affected by that. He opened his third eye. He was angry with him for disturbing his meditation, and he burned it to ashes. Of course, when he opened his eyes, he saw Parvati, and then he got married. And then he was able to, he took up his duty of killing this Asura. Now this is the backstory, but he was burnt to ashes. We were saying yesterday, Rati worshipped Shiva to obtain another body for Cupid. Just at the same time, Sambara came there, and Lord Shiva said, he addressed him first, what benediction you want? And he looked at Rati and said, I want her as the wife. And so she was crying about that, as we read here. Lord Shiva consoled her, said, don't worry, you will obtain your desire of being reunited with your husband. So she used her mystic power to change into Mayavati, from Rati to Mayavati. So she remained untouched, and even though she was put in, she just in charge of the kitchen. Somehow she bewildered Sambara that he didn't think of her as a wife anymore, just put her in charge of the kitchen. So this is the backstory. Very interesting stories here. And so we'll read on, text 9. I can just read, translation. After a short time, this son of Krishna Pradyumna attained his full youth. He enchanted all women who gazed upon him. Very handsome. This is considered an opulence. To have, as I was describing last night, Shuta, Shribi means very beautiful or handsome. Everyone wants this opulence, considered opulence. And generally comes from the previous pious activities in the former life. Why some people born handsome, some people born beautiful, some people not so handsome, not so beautiful, maybe very ugly, maybe deformed. This is all the karma from the former life. So to have the beauty in this life, one has to perform the pious activity. And so he was so handsome. Of course, he's the Supreme Personality of God. But everyone desires this, to be handsome. Every man desires to be handsome, desires to be strong, have a good muscle body. Every lady desires to be beautiful. So, but unfortunately in the material world, this Shribi is temporary, doesn't last a very long time. When you're young, you can be handsome and strong and have muscles as a man, or very beautiful as a woman. And just like, as it said, Prabhupada one time he joked, he said, when I was young, and then someone brought something, when I was young I used to eat so much halva, and I was young and strong. And he said, now I'm old, he said, and he lifted up his arm, he said, it's just like flat tire. Flat tire. This is what happens when the old age comes. He said, so the man, he wants to have nice muscle body, handsome, with a V shape, muscle V shape. But as you get older, the V goes to A shape.
Opposite.
So both man and woman's like that, the V shape, but then goes A shape. So old age, of course, doesn't have to be like that, but generally it becomes like that. And so everyone wants, but temporary. So after a very short time, in your youth, that's why people like youth. They're very attracted to youth. Youth is the epitome of the beauty and of the body, and it has a kind of an allurement of youth. The older person is not so alluring. The body is not so alluring, but the youth, it's very short time. Very short time. And so one in the youth, when one is in the youth, they think they'll be handsome, beautiful forever. But actually, no, gradually increasing. But of course, Pradyumna, he was ever, just like Krishna, Nava Yovanam. Krishna, when he comes into the world, he manifests different ages, starting with Kumara, the baby, to the young, very young boy up to 5 years. The Poganda, just the other, last week we had the celebration of Gopastami. Gopastami, I was telling the story of how Maharaj Nanda, when Krishna reached 5 and was going to 6, then they thought, well, now he's going into another age, it's called the Poganda age. Then it goes to Kaishora when you're from 10 to 16 or 15, 16, and then the Yovanam, the youth. So Krishna manifests all these different ages, and then Nanda Maharaj wanted to make a big celebration, and because he was going to give Krishna and all the cowherd boys, they were previously looking after the calves, now they were going to be allowed to look after the calves and the cows, and go by themselves. And so a big celebration was there, and Mother Yasoda dressed Krishna up very nicely to have a big celebration. So when Krishna went to this age, Poganda, so Pradyumna went also through these different stages. He was a small baby, and then saved, and then from the Kumara to the Poganda, and then Kaishora to the Jovanam. So now Krishna is called Nava Jovanam. Nava Jovanam means eternally youthful. Eternally youthful. He doesn't age. His body doesn't age like our bodies age. So Pradyumna was a fresh youth and very attractive. All women who gazed upon him were very enchanted. If a man in the mature world sees a beautiful woman, he's very enchanted, and a woman sees a very handsome man, they're very enchanted. So all the ladies who gazed upon Pradyumna were like that. And I'll read on. Text 10. My dear king, with a bashful smile and raised eyebrows, Mayavati exhibited various gestures of conjugal attraction as she lovingly approached her husband, whose eyes were broad like the petals of a lotus, whose arms were very long, and who was the most beautiful of men. So Krishna is a description of Krishna's form and his body. He's very, very beautiful. Now, generally someone in the world, when they're handsome, there's always some defect. Maybe they're handsome, but maybe the eyes are not so nice looking. All the rest is good, but the eyes are not looking crooked. Or maybe one's nose is too big or something like that. Maybe the ears are too long or too small. So the body can have their defects. Generally can be looking good, but some defects. But Krishna's body is not like that. No defect. In total it is perfection, and every part of the body of Krishna is perfect. The ears are perfect. The eyes is lotus-eyed shank eyes. Shank eyes means like the conch shell, means they're like a lotus, but then they go very wide. They go right round almost to the ear. And Radharani saying, like that, very eyes that go like this, right around. And when the gopis give sidelong glances to Krishna, they hardly even have to move their head, they're looking to the side because their eyes. So very beautiful eyes, nose of Krishna, the mouth, the lips of Krishna, the teeth of Krishna like pearl teeth, the moon-like face. A nice description is given in the Shastras of the appearance of Krishna. Beautiful hair, very, very beautiful hair. The neck is described, how Krishna's neck is so nice. Everything is so nice, even the chin, all aspect. You look at every part of the body. The chest is broad, the arms long arms. Krishna's arms are described almost going to the knee. very extraordinary. Our arms don't go, when we put our arms, they maybe go to the waist if we're lucky. Someone who's hasn't got the good karma, maybe they have very short little arms like this. But Krishna's arms are very long to the knee, and the waist, and the abdomen, everything, the nice legs, and the lotus feet, every part of Krishna's body. So Pradyumna was no way inferior, so he had a very beautiful Nava Yovanam handsome body, and everyone was enchanted. Mayavati, who could remember her former life as Rati, she became attracted to him, and she recognized him to be the incarnation, or at least Kamadeva, her former husband, was come again as Pradyumna. So she was exhibiting like that. And Lord Pradyumna, I'll read this next verse. Oh mother, your attitude has changed. You are overstepping the proper feelings of a mother, behaving like a lover. And I'll read through. Rati said, you are the son of Lord Narayan and were kidnapped from your parents' home by Sambara. I, Rati, am your legitimate wife, O master, because you are Cupid. Now I seem to remember in the summary that it was Narad Muni came there Narad Muni came there, explained it, but actually now we're reading that it is Mayavati explaining herself that what was the position of Pradyumna formerly. And then she tells everything, that he threw you into the sea, you were recovered, so we're going to go through here. Now kill this dreadful Sambara, your formidable enemy. Although he knows hundreds of magic spells, you can defeat him with bewildering magic and other techniques. Your poor mother, having lost her son, cries for you like a kurari bird. She's overwhelmed with love for her child, just like a cow that has lost its calf. Speaking thus, Mayavati gave to the great soul Pradyumna the mystic knowledge called Mahamaya, which vanquishes all other deluding spells. So, as I said, Sambara had all mystic spells, and you could, and there's a good description of this battle. I think that it's maybe coming up. This is coming up, the battle, and he used spells and mystical things. But now we're reading here, Mayavati is going to give him mystic knowledge of Mahamaya that can counteract all these mystical spells of this demon Sambara. Pradyumna approached Sambara and called him to battle, hurling intolerable insults at him to foment a conflict. As I said, Kshatriya has their nature. You insult him, say bad things, challenge him. He's got the nature of Kshatriya. He cannot refuse to take the challenge. If he refuses to take the challenge, he'll be called a coward. Or someone challenge you, you didn't face him, he's a coward. A bad reputation is very, very humiliating for the Kshatriya. So Sambara came out. After offended by these harsh words, Sambara became as agitated as a kicked snake. Well, you have to be careful. In the Philippines we have many snakes, isn't it? Did you ever see a snake? Where? In the zoo? If you see a snake, don't go near. Because it could be cobra, very deadly, poisonous. And if you kick it, whoa. One thing is to go near. Even going near is dangerous. He may come and bite you and put the poison, and you can die just like that. But if you go and think, what is this snake, and kick it, it becomes even more angry. And so here this example is given. He became like a kicked snake. When Pradyumna purposely said all insulting words because he wanted him to fight. And so he became like a kicked snake. He came out, he had a club, eyes red with rage, and very angry. Demons get angry very quickly, just like that. Whereas we're saying all the good qualities of devotee, last night we were given the class. Devotees don't, they're very controlled. But so many things can happen to them, they don't become angry. Sometimes they become angry in the service of the Lord, just like Hanuman. Hanuman was angry at Ravana, who jumped over to Lanka, he was angry. Sugriva was angry at Ravana. So in the service of the Lord you can become angry. But for beginners it's not recommended to be angry like that. So generally we have to control anger. But demons, boom, the slightest thing, angry. Sambara whirled his club swiftly about and then hurled it at the wise Pradyumna, producing a sound as sharp as thundercrack. So the club, they had these big clubs and they were trained how to use these clubs. Just like Duryodhana was trained, Balaram. They would even just fight with the club and or throw the club. They'd throw the club. And if you were hit by this club, you would be dead. You would be dead hit by the club. So this is what Sambara did. He threw the club at Pradyumna, and when they came flying to him, Pradyumna knocked it away. He had his own club. Bang, he just knocked it away. Then angrily Pradyumna threw his club at Sambara. Threw his club. So he knocked away somebody, he threw his club. So a good description is here. Resorting to black magic when Sambara saw, he's knocked my club, then black magic of the deities taught to him by Maya Danava. Here we go. More description here. So Maya Danava, he's teaching the Danavas, the Asuras, how to use these black arts. Sambara suddenly appeared in the sky and released a downpour of weapons from the sky on Krishna's son. They have in the modern military, in the warfare, they can produce so many things for the sky, like a lot of drones these days, and they can come raining down on the enemy. A bomb can go and it creates so many disaster. So, but in this time, it was all magical, mystic opulence. Harassed by a range of weapons, Pradyumna was very powerful. He used the Mahamaya mystic science, and he was able to defeat all that. And then the whole description is given here of the fight. And then finally, Lord Pradyumna struck down all these different attacks. Then Pradyumna took a very sharp sword. And he came over to Sambara with his sharp sword. He went and cut off his head. To be able to cut off a head with a sword, the sword needs to be very sharp. Sharp-edged sword. You have to know how to use it also. And the head, complete with red mustache. Oh, he had the red hair. Very fiery. He had the red mustache, means that generally you have the red hair also. So he was red hair, red mustache. And the head fell on the ground. And with the helmet was on there, earrings, and it just fell to the ground, being cut by Pradyumna. All the residents of the higher planet showered the flowers on Pradyumna, and his wife appeared in the sky and transported him through the heavens back to the city of Dwarka. So Rati took Pradyumna back to Dwarka, and when Lord Pradyumna came, and she took him right to the inner quarters of Krishna's most excellent palace, and was crowded with lovely women. And so those women thought that we read earlier that Krishna had come. Gradually they could see there were some slight differences. As all the expansions of Krishna, there's slight differences, but they thought he looks like Krishna. But then Pradyumna, then Rukmini saw him, and she naturally thought that who is this person? And then gradually she understood that this is my lost son who's come back again very miraculously. Then Krishna came there, and he knew everything already, but he remained silent. And this is where Narad came. Narad came then and explained everything to everyone. So first of all, Mayavati explained to Pradyumna what the position was, and then when he went back to, when he was brought by Rati back to Dwarka, and he was there when Krishna came there, Narad Muni came there. Krishna was just silent, he knew everything, but he allowed Narad Muni to speak and describe the whole history of Sambara's kidnapping the child. Everyone became joyful, as if someone came back from the dead, and they embraced the young couple. They accepted. Pradyumna had come back now with a wife, and so everyone accepted. Hearing the lost Pradyumna had come home, the residents of Dwarka declared, Providence has allowed this child to return as if from death. It is not astonishing that the palace women who should have felt maternal affection for Pradyumna privately felt ecstatic attraction for him as if they were their own lord. So the purport is, as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains, whenever the palace women saw Pradyumna, they immediately remembered their Lord Krishna. Prabhupada comments as follows in the Krishna book. Srila Sukadeva Goswami has explained that in the beginning, all the residents of the palace were all mothers and stepmothers of Pradyumna, mistook him to be Krishna, and were all bashful, infected by the desire of conjugal love. The explanation is Pradyumna's personal appearance was exactly like Krishna's, and was factually Cupid himself. There was no cause of astonishment, therefore, when the mothers of Pradyumna and other women mistook him in that way. It is clear from this statement that Pradyumna's bodily character was so similar to Krishna that he was mistaken to be Krishna even by his mother. Thus end the purport of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada in the 10th canto, 55th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The History of Pradyumna. So we're going to go tomorrow to the next verse, the Shaman Takajul. Hare Krishna. So before we had Srimad Bhagavatam, we had the Krishna book, Prabhupada, because in the beginning he had translated the commentary on the first canto of Bhagavatam, and then he wanted to complete. But simultaneously he thought maybe I will be die before I complete Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like I was telling about Chaitanya. He was thinking like that. So therefore, let me summarize. Now this is how Krishna book came. Krishna book, because Prabhupada is so compassionate for the people. Let me give them the stories of Krishna's pastime, summarized with some philosophy in the Krishna book. And I remember, I think still is available, Krishna book, isn't it? And we were distributing many Krishna books. We had the big ones, very big ones with very beautiful artwork. We were selling the big ones and we were giving in the street. And people were just, oh, what's this big book? And we're showing the pictures, very nice paintings, everything. This is why all these stories, and now we're going to read about the Shaman Takajul, chapter 56. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Premanandi. Does anyone have any questions? Comments? Hare Krishna. No questions? No, you don't have to. If you don't have any questions, you don't have any questions. Okay. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Radha Madhava Bhagavan ki Jai. Ki Panchatattva ki Jai. Go Premanandi.
This pastime Maharaj has a lot of